Hello and welcome to today's video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the latest set by Mammoth Factory games, which is totally awesome. Full disclosure, Mammoth Factory kindly sponsored this video, so thank you so much for Mammoth Factory. But let's get on with what you get with this set, how I painted them up and how these things look. Now, the Wild Hunt, which is their September release, is a really different take on anything that I've painted beforehand. I tend to stick to like my humans, my undead, or kind of ghouly type creatures and stuff. So when these sort of centaur elf type creatures came out, I was really intrigued. And I've got to say, this is the first set where I've looked, and for every single one of these I wanted to paint, and I got pretty close to getting the whole set painted up. Now, included with this, you will get obviously your full set of minis that you'll be able to use as part of a D&D adventure. You'll get the D&D campaign as well, which can either be used as a one-shot or as part of an ongoing series by Mammoth Factory. You'll also get 4 busts, which look really cool, and I've never painted a bust before, so let me know in the comments if you want me to at least give it a go. And you'll also get some really cool terrain and scenery. If you don't have a 3D printer, you'll also get all the bits to go with it, or like the maps and stuff you can print off, like the tokens as well. It's a really good set. Now, in my opinion, this is probably the best set by Mammoth Factory games so far to date. And so with this, you get like your core units, these kind of little centaur elf type things. You also get your bigger units, which I really like. I very much like these sculpts on these. They look really cool. So with these warriors, I wanted to blow them up a little bit just because I was really liking the look of all the detail that was on there. So the ones that you're seeing on screen that I've painted up, they're about 200% scale. Even blown up like this, the detail still looks absolutely superb, and I was really happy with the way they turned out because of it. And you also get the most adorable thing in the world I never knew I needed, which is baby owlbear. And then you get the mama owlbear. Ooh, that sounded weird. And you get these, I think they're called Quigleys. I'm probably butchering that, and D&D people are going to come for me now. But these like kind of wolf reindeer things, which look really interesting as well. And then you get this, I don't know, like Lord of the, I don't know, reindeer skulls. He is really interesting. And then Lady of the Lock, which is also very interesting. Got a little toad on there. Once I got them all printed, getting them off the supports was fantastically easy. My go-to is I dip them into some hot water, I take a scalpel, and I'll cut around like on all these small ones here. First off, I'll slice off any of the supports that are around like the little fiddly weapons, and I can just peel the rest of it off, and I don't have any breakages. I didn't have anything that snapped or broke, and I didn't have any failed prints, so that's always a bonus. Got them all done, and then I hit them all, obviously, with a Zenithal Prime. So obviously black first, and white from above. And they were already starting to look good. And the great thing about this prime is, A, it's great for using things like army paint or speed paints, because you kind of keep some of that contrast in there. But it really picks out a lot of the details, so like the runes on the weapons. And they've got these like belts and like on their kind of shin pads and everything. They've got all these runes and inscriptions. It just helps to bring that out so you kind of get an idea of what you're going to be painting. Once they're all primed, I then went in there with my army paint or speed paint and started hitting them up. So I went for just a standard flesh color, but then I was concerned that obviously it's going to be flesh and kind of browny, and then if I threw on some leathers, it was also then going to match in as well. So I had to do something that would contrast a bit and stand out. So I went with yellow on like all the shin pads and things like the, I guess like belts and everything. And then I figured they would probably have kind of leafy green loincloths and stuff like that. So I threw a lot of greens in there. For the hair, I went with black. And this is the only thing that I dislike about these models actually, is the hair. On the front, it looks fine. On the back, it's this flowing thing. And I wasn't sure at first if it's hair or if it was like a wolf pelt or something like that. I think it is hair, but it's kind of hard to distinguish, and it's annoying more than anything. I swear, I don't have hair envy. Maybe I do. I just wish I had this hair. It's a preference thing. I'm not keen on it. The front looks fantastic. Just not keen on like these big ones, this weird mane of flowing hair that kind of comes out of nowhere. But I hit that with black, and then once I'd done all of that, I decided I was going to do something different with the swords. I didn't want to just have boring silver because it didn't make sense. And because I was going for these greens, and there's going to be like green on the bases and stuff like that, I decided I was going to go with blue. They've all ended up looking a little bit like mini Jedis. So I just hit them with 2 tones of blue from contrast paint, starting with a darker blue from sort of like the base of the sword, and then blending it in with a lighter blue towards the outside. And once you go back in with a cream dry brush on these, it just helps it to kind of give this magical glowy blue effect. I really like it, I'm happy with that. With things like the Quiggly Wolfy things, I just hit them with my airbrush. So I decided they needed to kind of match in with some of the yellows that I've been using already. So I was really lazy with these actually. I went in there and I hit them with yellow from below and then like a grey from above. And then with Lady of the Lock, I hit her with loads of different colours and I kept changing my mind. So there's greens and there's blues and there's yellows from the front. I feel like it kind of blends in quite nicely. With a lot of these models, there's still some more detail work that I'd like to go back in and do, but actually they're all looking pretty good so far, so really happy with how they turned out. With the big guy, I did pretty much exactly the same as I did with all the main units. He's obviously got his normal fleshy colours, he's then got all of this sort of like mossy cloak with all these hidden skulls in there. This guy's fantastic. And then he needed something different for his eyes and his face, and I wanted to give him something like glowy eyes. It doesn't really look like glowy eyes because he's got like red all across the front, so I don't know if maybe it's old dried blood maybe that's smeared on there. Someone suggested it looks a little bit like he's standing in the sunset. He's got the beams of the sun hitting him. Maybe use your imagination. He could be doing whatever the hell he wants. I mean, I'm not going to mess with him. His sword is really weird. It looks fantastic. When I first printed it out though, I thought it was like loads of layer lines because it has all these like circles and everything else. I was like, that doesn't make sense. How on earth has this come off so badly? And then when I actually paid a bit of attention and looked, it's these like circles and all of these kind of patterns on the front of his blade, and it's even smaller on like kind of the top of his blade. It looks really good. Hopefully you can pick that up in the B-roll. His sword is, or whatever the hell that is, looks fantastic, and a lot of them have that. They've got like these runes and inscriptions and stuff like that on their swords. There's so much detail that's gone into this. Now obviously, Baby Owlbear is the star of the show. He's fantastic. I was quite lazy again with him. I figured he needed to look like he had these pajamas on, so I left a lot of his Zenithal Prime, and then around the top I did this like brown and grey on the front, gave him these yellow striking eyes, and I gave him these feet and hands as well. They're little brown bits, so it looks like he's kind of got this brown poking out from pajamas. I think he looks so cute. I kind of want to print off a bigger one of these, but I should resist, but he's really cool. And then Mammoth Owlbear, I basically just hit with a dry brush over the top, put in the eyes, and also the beak. I need to do more detail work, but it looks pretty cool so far. Honestly, this set, there's so many stands out on it, it's really hard to kind of pick one that I love. And normally with the ones I've painted beforehand, there's been a few that I've looked and gone, I absolutely love those, and the rest of it looks pretty cool. But this, the whole set is really good, even like the mini ones. Now, in terms of the highlight, I did my usual lazy cream dry brush across pretty much everything. And I did go back in there and do some highlight work. And one thing I found completely by mistake, and it makes so much sense that this would work, is speed paint medium mixed with like pure white. Because when you go back in there, it reactivates the layer beneath because they're speed paints and they just seem to reactivate all the time. But it really helps you to then mix in and blend in that white, so you can start to kind of wet blend with the layers beneath it. Works really nicely. Had a lot of fun with that. So that is this month's set, The Wild Hunt by Mammoth Factory Games. If you haven't already subscribed to them, head on over to the Patreon, it'll be linked below. You can also go over to their My Mini Factory, and it's got all of their previous sets as well. Like I said, this one's my favourite by far. The sculpts, every single one of them is amazing. And this is the first time I've ever been tempted to do a bust. They always do busts, but I'm never too keen because I just don't know the need. But these were so much fun to paint. I've really enjoyed them. So let me know, what are your favourite models in there? And obviously, if I go back in there and do a bit more detail work, what would you like to see? And then I'll kind of throw it up on my Instagram page, or maybe make a shorts for you. Who knows? Only time will tell. But I love them. They are fantastic. Can't wait to play the campaign that goes along with these as well, because I want to know more about this guy. You know, big reindeer skull cloaks filled with skulls man. That's his now official name. So we're going to go with that. Thank you very much to Mammoth Factory. Thank you very much for watching this video. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It costs absolutely nothing. But if you do want to pay some money, head on over to my Patreon, because that just helps me to keep the lights on, which is always appreciated. And if you haven't already, go over to my Discord channel where we talk all things hobby, gaming, and painting. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!